Hello, Adventurous peeps. This is Adventurous Carrie, and it's a wet, kind of gloomy day here in North Carolina, middle of May 2020. And I was going to do some gardening today, but it's just way too wet out there. And besides, I wanted to talk to you guys and just kind of share a few of my thoughts of what I've been thinking about the last couple of days. And as I'm working in my garden and preparing and getting ready for some of the stuff to start blooming so I can harvest something and get into canning again. And anyway, it's all exciting. For as long as I can remember growing up, we've always had a garden. My grandparents were big farmers, and I lived on a horse farm in Michigan, and we had a garden there. And I spent the last 30 years in California, Napa, California. I've always had a garden in my backyard. So I'm new to North Carolina, and I'm just putting in a garden here. So it's kind of exciting. But things are starting to open up in some parts of the world, and I think here in North Carolina, I think we're in stage 2. And I just found out my other home, Napa, California, I'm kind of bi-coastal, is now going to let some of the restaurants open and have some inside dining. That's kind of exciting. They're the first Bay Area county in San Francisco area that is going to allow restaurants to open. So that's a good sign. But that's not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about an opportunity that we all have right now. And that's an opportunity to be prepared. And what I mean by that, I've always been kind of a mini prepper for the past 20 years. When I got divorced and was raising small kids, they're now adults now, I always prepared because I never knew what was going to happen. I owned my own business. Being a business owner sometimes can be scary. You just never know what's going to happen. And so being prepared, having supplies on hand just made me feel a little more comfortable. And I didn't have to worry about if people were paying me. I just always wanted to make sure I had food for my kids while they were growing up. And I taught them self-sufficientness and how to take care of themselves. We were big backpackers and hikers, and we loved to go camping. So we're used to, what do you have to take with you to survive if you're going to be out, in the wilderness for a week. I haven't done a month, but, a week. But, yeah, preparing, being a mini prepper. What that means to me, now, I don't have a lot of guns and ammunition, and I don't have cattle and chickens and goats and things like that. Though, who knows, maybe someday. I'm always willing to try something new. But, being a girly girl that doesn't mind getting dirty and being an outdoors girl, I do have my share of survival knives. I mean, I have everything you can think of. Hunting knives, cooking knives, backpacking knives. I don't know. I'm not a gun person, but I do have my knives. But having said that, whether it's a man-made emergency or natural emergencies, we need to be prepared. And when I was living in California, we had floods. We had the earthquake of 2014. I think we had an earthquake in 2000 that I was through. 2 years in a row, we had the wildfires in wine country. The fire of 2017 came about 3 blocks from my house. That was kind of scary. A lot of my really good friends lost their house in the wildfires. And I remember one friend in particular, her husband had just gotten back from a trip. And he had the suitcase that he had with him right next to the door. But with all the chaos that was going on, they ran out of the house and they didn't even get the suitcase, so they had no clothes, even though he had a suitcase right by the front door. So you just never know. The 2014 earthquake, I always had 10 7.5-gallon jugs of water in my garage. Well, during that earthquake, we had no water for a week. So I gave most of my neighbors that needed it, I gave them one of those jugs of water. And they were so appreciative. And every single one of those jugs came back to me after everything was settled and everything was done, filled. That was exciting. Another neighbor in our few doors down provided coffee for everyone. That's what it's all about. People taking care of people, neighborhoods watching out, neighbors looking out for neighbors. And so, it just got me thinking, with things starting to open up a little bit, that was the perfect time. If you're not the type of person to be prepared, if you're reliant on getting all your meals at a restaurant or quick package meals at the grocery store, everybody should have at least 2 weeks worth of food. Now, it might not be what you normally eat or, all the gourmet food you might be used to. But, having some canned food, having some rice and beans, and practice making those rice and beans. So if it does come down to something like that, that you've already had some experience in it. I even go to the grocery store now. And 2 months into this pandemic, this crisis, this worldwide shutdown, there's not always meat in the meat aisle. Now, sometimes there's, vegan hamburger. If you're into that kind of stuff, nothing wrong. I have a lot of vegan friends. I personally like meat. I like my steak and my chicken and especially salmon. I'm a seafood person. But I can eat a vegetarian meal, but I don't want to eat a vegetarian meal every single day. So, stocking up on some canned meats would be a good thing for me. I don't know what you're into. And, right now, toilet paper, paper towels, hand sanitizers, those are few and far between. Kind of a funny story is I've always had extra toilet paper on hand. Anybody that knows me, all my family, all my friends, my brother and I don't know if we had something that happened in our childhood, but we both need to make sure that we have toilet paper on hand. And so when I, got together with my boyfriend and was coming out to North Carolina last March when I came out here for the first time, he said, "Oh, I have something for you." He went out to Sam's Club and bought me a big package of toilet paper. That to me was so endearing, so sweet. He didn't make fun of the fact that I like to have toilet paper, but he did something to make me feel safe and secure when I came to visit him. Now I live here. So that was kind of neat. And so I try to have, and I'm not a hoarder, I just try to have stuff on hand that I might need within the next year. Now, I don't have a year's worth of food here in North Carolina. I did back in California, and I wasn't the most organized person back then. I'm a little more organized now. And so I did have quite a few food that, the expiration date went, and so I had to get rid of it. Now I have a system, and someday I'll do a video about my system on how I organize and categorize all my food that I store. But I have about 3 months worth of stuff here, so I feel pretty confident about that. The one thing that I do have, who would have known 2 months ago that the whole world was going to shut down? You can't make this stuff up. So it happened. It can happen again. And, they said nobody knows about this virus, whether it's going to go away or it's going to come back, or who knows what next fall and winter, maybe we'll have another shutdown. Maybe this time the stores won't be open, and even when the stores were open, there was a lot of things that you couldn't find. Even to this day, I have a hard time getting rice and beans. Now, fortunately, I'm stocked up on rice and beans. I'm pretty good for probably 6-8 months on rice and beans. So if you need rice and beans, come visit me. I'll make you up something. But it's just really important for people to take this time now that things are opening up. And I don't mean go hog wild and buy up everything in the store, because there won't be enough for everybody then. That's why we have the shortages of toilet paper and so forth. But just take an extra $20 when you go shopping and buy some canned stuff that you don't, maybe never had before. I try to stay away from canned food because it's got a lot of sodium in it. But, if it comes down to being hungry or not, I'm going to eat the canned food. Same thing with the meats. I do like to make salmon patties out of canned salmon. Prefer salmon fresh, but you know, out of a can, it can last a couple of years, and that's good. The other thing too is really get to know some of your other friends that you maybe can share stuff with, and you know, just $20 a week extra. Pick up some extra stuff. And if you say, well, I don't have any place to store all that stuff, I took an old cabinet that I had by our front door. I cleared it out. I have stuff in there like, you know, candles and there's Henry. He has to give his 2 cents here as far as where to store it. You can put it in something underneath your bed. You don't have to have a lot of room. You don't have to have a whole room dedicated to storing all your prepping stuff. We took an old cabinet and put it in our garage, and that's kind of like our garage pantry of food that we would use in an emergency, but we don't necessarily use every day. We do have an extra bottle of olive oil, salt and pepper and sugar and things like that. I'll probably do a video at some point on what things to store, what things last the longest, maybe throw in a few recipe ideas on things that you can make. As I said before, I'm a big camper, backpacker, so I do have all the outdoor stoves and things like that. But it's just something to think about. Be prepared. Be self-reliant. And have the self-confidence that you can take care of yourself, your family, and your home. Don't rely on the government to do that for you. You know, I sold my business last year. I become a freelance writer. All my writing jobs dried up because of the COVID-19 and everything being shut down. So I can't qualify for unemployment. But I had no income for 3 months. But I still felt okay because I had food and I have a year's supply of health and beauty items. You know, instead of, you know, one thing of deodorant, I have 4. It doesn't take up that much room. But I'm not worried about having to take care of myself as far as food and hygiene. Now, you know, I need money to pay for some of my bills, which I also saved up some money. I'm good for 3 months, but, you know, it is a little nerve-wracking, so I need to figure out a way to make some money coming up, probably for July and August, and not wait that long. But it's just really important to become self-sufficient, and you can do it in the modern world. But at the same time, I'd also recommend that you start learning some skills that might have been lost on us. You know, we're so used to the internet and everything provided for us. Learn how to garden. Learn how to grow a tomato. Now, it does take time. It takes practice. But if you start now, and if things really go haywire a year from now, you'll be a little more prepared. You don't need a lot of space. I'm going to do a video on how you can grow food for yourself on a patio, out of containers, and where you can get those containers for free. Lots of ideas. You know, I have all my notes when I used to do a radio show called Sustainable Life with Good Morning Bob on KVON and KVYN in Napa, California. And so I think I might start doing some videos on that as well. But if, you know, I can just give you one word of advice, just learn to be more self-sufficient. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your home, and have gratitude and help your neighbor out, because you never know when they might need to help you. And always remember IAPODA. It starts with, it's all part of the adventure. It's an acronym that my kids and I have been doing for the last 20 years. And so I wish you much peace, love, and prosperity. And in this, we'll all get together and we will all thrive. Thanks.